Hi there. My name's Gail Nichols. I'm an RN and a health and wellness coach. And I'd like to talk to you about how to prevent and reverse Alzheimer's. Pretty exciting. Would you like that to happen in your life or for your family and friends? It may sound very far-fetched. A lot of people feel if they have the diagnosis of Alzheimer's or dementia, it's game over. Nothing could be farther from the truth. And in this presentation, I'm going to explain that to you, how that works. And first of all, we've got to just go back to the year 2011 when I went home to visit my parents for Christmas. They had retired to a beautiful farmhouse and home in the Annapolis Valley, Nova Scotia, after leading a very adventurous military life, traveling across the country. Now, my dad and mom were both in the military during World War II. Dad was in the Navy, mom was in the Army, and when the war ended, they met on a train going across Canada. Well, it was love at first sight. They ended up corresponding for a year, and Dad mailed Mom her engagement ring. She said yes. And I'm the first of the 5 wonderful children that they had. And I say, I was such a lucky girl because they were ideal parents in my eyes. Never heard them quarrel. They were always very supportive. They had a lot of fun. Every day was an adventure to them. They traveled a lot. And here they are when I went to visit them in 2011, after many years. They were now in their mid-80s. Now, I used to keep in touch with them regularly by telephone because I lived in another country, so I could only visit them occasionally. But I remember my parents saying that they were writing notes about why they were going in the kitchen or what they had to do because they kept forgetting. Dad would drive and then get lost. My sister had to pick him up at a coffee shop once. And finally, the doctor took away the keys. That was devastating to Dad because he loved driving. We always drove every summer on vacation. Well, Dad's diagnosis was Alzheimer's and Mom was dementia. So, what's the difference between the two? Alzheimer's is just a form of dementia. There are other forms of dementia like Lewy body dementia and other types, but they symptoms usually start slowly and increase over time. And you can see evidence in your brain in your 20s, 30s, and 40s and 50s of Alzheimer's. It's quite shocking, actually. Early symptoms are memory loss, difficulty with language, problems with thinking, reasoning, writing. And as the disease progresses, symptoms can include confusion, disorientation, behavioral changes. My parents had all of those. And you probably know people that have that too. The prevalence is quite shocking. Approximately 7 million people over the age of 65 in the US have Alzheimer's. And if you look at it's more like 11% of people overall. And if you live to 85, a third of people are living with Alzheimer's. It's the 7th leading cause of death in the United States. The average lifespan once it's diagnosed is between 4 to 8 years. The mortality is shocking too. The average lifespan is, as I say, 4 to 8 years. Women are more likely than men to get Alzheimer's, and Hispanics and African Americans are more likely than Caucasians to get Alzheimer's. The cost is staggering, over $300 billion a year in the United States, and that's because of the cost of caring for people with Alzheimer's and dementia. So I just read a book called The Ageless Brain by Dr. Dale Bredesen. He's a world-renowned neurologist specializing in Alzheimer's. This is one of his many books. It's the latest one and is full of concrete steps to take how to prevent and reverse Alzheimer's. And he's proven it over and over and over again with hundreds of people over the last 10 years. So it's not a fantasy, it is a fact. Now, he has said that there are several non-genetic causes of Alzheimer's. Things like inflammation. If you have herpes, for example, that's a big cause. Or maybe you have insulin resistance, which is a difficulty in dealing with blood sugar. toxins in the air, in the water, in your home, problems with your vascular system, your blood system. Maybe you played a lot of sports and you banged your head a lot, or you had a major car accident. Nutritional deficiencies. Well, those are all part of the reason why. Diet is a key component. My parents love their sugary sweets and cereals every morning, but the ultra-processed foods are the key component in this problem. Because if you look at the rise of Alzheimer's, the rise of dementia, the rise of obesity, the rise of ultra-processed foods, they all track the same angle. From starting in the 70s, pretty much, everything has gone in an upward trajectory during that time frame. I mentioned cereals. Well, my parents loved cereals. I grew up eating alphabets and sugar frosted flakes. Probably you did too. But they're full of sugar. And desserts. My mom used to be able to bake up a storm, and we loved her desserts. Lots of sugar. She baked bread from scratch. She was a tremendous baker and cook. And I remember one of the treats that we had when I was growing up, if we didn't have one of her decadent desserts, Dad would just take a piece of bread, layer some butter on it, put another layer of, a thick layer of brown sugar. Or sometimes it was molasses. It was so good. And then we would give him his favorite candy, licorice all sorts, for his birthdays and other events. Little did I realize that I was helping fry his brain. Speaking of which, a lot of people don't know this, but your brain does not have pain receptors. So even though your brain is in pain, you don't feel it. Your brain cannot signal you that way. It signals you with the symptoms of that pain. And that's Alzheimer's, which is one of the leading types of dementia. There are other types of dementia like Lewy body dementia, but sugar is the problem. And if you look at the brains on sugar, you see the left brain, it's normal. But the middle brain is on cocaine and the right brain is on sugar. Sugar and cocaine, they both affect the brain the same way. And it's not healthy. I mentioned that there's some toxins. Well, mold is a big one. And a lot of younger people are moving back home to live with their parents in their basements. There's a lot of mold in basements, as well as in the air ducts in some homes. But there's other types of toxins as well, in the air, in the food, in the water. Lack of sleep, major problem. And a lot of people say, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Well, if you think that way, you will have an early death. Because if you don't get the right kind of sleep in the right quantities, you're going to have a much shorter life. And you'll have a very dismal end of your life. You need at least 1 hour of deep sleep per night. That's when the power washing of all the toxins in your brain happens. And you need an hour and a half of rapid eye movement sleep. That's when you dream. And that's when you have memory consolidation and learning. Now, who doesn't have stress? Everybody's stressed at some point or another. But if you have chronic stress, that can literally eat away at you. All your organs suffer, but especially your brain. And to deal with that, you might want to look at mindfulness, meditation, maybe some deep breathing exercises. Go for a walk in a park, in nature. Visit some friends, people that you get along with that can help you de-stress. It really benefits your brain. Exercise. Who's got time for exercise? Make time for exercise. 10 minutes here and there, up to 30 minutes or more. An hour is ideal during the day. Not just one big blast of an hour. Spread it out through the day because your body is built for motion. It really helps your brain and your muscles because you need to be able to carry those groceries, walk up those stairs, get up off the chair, get up off the floor. And the only way you can do that is through having exercise, including strength training exercise. Pick up a couple of hand weights while you're out for a walk. So there is no silver bullet solution. Everybody's looking for the drug or the treatment. There is no drug right now that prevents or treats Alzheimer's. None. And there's none on the horizon either. Sorry about that. However, there is what we might call silver buckshot, which is a series of coordinated treatments that do work for sure. Proven. So Dr. Bredesen calls these his B7 or his Bredesen 7. And you can see them listed here. They're all the things we've just talked about. Getting the right nutrition, the right exercise, the sleep, getting rid of your stress, getting rid of toxins. Maybe you need to take a supplement. So let's start now. As a registered nurse and a health and wellness coach, I'm here to help. You can contact me through my website, gailnichols.com. Let's set up a time to chat. There's no charge for our initial discussion, and we can put together a program. And I can come to speak at one of your groups. I'd love to talk to your company, your church group, whomever, about how to reverse and prevent Alzheimer's. Thank you very much.